Welcome to another video. In today's video, I want to look into when to start your healing and how do you actually know that this is the right timing, because most of the time you don't feel like doing it at all. So let me give you some little guidance so that you can be more aware on when to exactly do that and start to really dig deep. And I'm also going to share some tools I use so that it will help you to release the stress you feel in your body and this overwhelm. And maybe you feel even anxious, or you have some kind of heart racing or something like this, where you're just like, oh, I don't know how to deal with that, right? Now, since we are talking about health, I want to make sure that you are aware that this is not about medical issues. This is about doing daily life. And this means that we all need to understand how emotions run and how we have been programmed and how everything works in our body. And so if we are not aware of our system, then how can we do life for the best, right? And so this is really about giving you some tools that will help you to release that stress and overwhelm on a natural kind of basis. My name is Patricia. I'm a life coach, and I help people to see their blind spots and start to look into those kind of fields that they haven't really looked into. And they are aware that they want to change their life for the better, but they don't know where to start. So here it is. Let's dive into this video. Oftentimes what happens is we are getting some kind of triggering. There is some frustration bubbling up. Maybe you have some heavy self-talk that is very ugly, feels very ugly. You start to hate yourself, you start to beat yourself up, you start to feel sorry for yourself. You may start to go deep into this negative spiral, right? And you start to doubt yourself, you start to really go into a place that isn't nice, like really isn't nice, but you can't somehow stop yourself because this is the regular thing you do when things just don't go the way you would like them to. And that's how you learn to somehow deal with situations. You beat yourself up, you make yourself feel painful or shame and guilt, and you start to really dig into those kind of emotions, right, that are really heavy and weighing on you. And maybe in addition, you hear how people talk about you or how they have used to talk. Maybe you can still hear them, how they have said something about you, and now you're like, they were right. So you're kind of proving yourself again that it was right. The way why you are at the place you are is because of that, and the story goes on, right? We tend to not wanting to really do anything when we feel that, because we feel like it's not a good time to do anything, right? We just wait until it's over. And see, that is exactly when you start. When you feel that, when you're lying in your bed and those kind of thoughts come in, that's when you start. That's when you start. When you feel that negative talk taking over, and when you start to beat yourself up, that's when you start. You don't start 10 minutes later. You start when this is happening, like immediately if you can. You start doing this by 3 a.m. at the morning. You start doing this at 10, 11 at night. It doesn't matter. You start doing this at the break time. Whenever you get the chance, you start doing it, because the level of when this is happening, you have to stop yourself and you have to recognize when it is happening, and you have to tell your body immediately that this is not how we are treating our body anymore, and you have to stop those behavior styles. And you don't change your behavior styles if you are waiting until you feel better, because when you feel better, you feel, oh, actually nothing is really wrong, everything is okay, I just had a little moment. You didn't have a little moment, you had a huge moment. You know what I mean? The moment was huge. You have beaten yourself up like crazy. That isn't a behavior that you can just let go. That isn't just something small. That is huge, because it's impacting how you feel about yourself. And how you feel about yourself makes a difference in how you create your life. So you want to look into this. You want to make a change there. That is important, man. I tell you, this is super, super crucial. You got to look into that right away. You feel this 5 a.m., you start doing it. You start doing this inner work. Your motivation at this moment is not important. What is important is that you want to feel better. That is important. So you have to start recognizing that you are just repeating a pattern right now. Okay? You have to distance yourself from it, because what you're doing right now is you also have to understand who you are. And it takes a little while until you understand that from deep within, because most probably you may be far away from that. Maybe you haven't connected to yourself since a while. And how do you want to feel, or feel yourself, if you haven't connected in stillness to yourself? How do you want to know, right? You start believing what you're thinking, and you start to think, well, it's in my head, it must be true. And if this is on repeat, you will start thinking the same thing again and again and again. You start creating that life after that, from that hate. That's not going anywhere. I mean, in a positive way. For you, this is going in a way that you don't want. And you see, we all have done that. We all have done that. So that's what I'm trying to tell here on this channel all the time. You're not the first one. You will not be the last one. But here is your change. Here is something that you can really do. You can start to make an impact by changing the way you do today. Because tomorrow it will be easier for you. And the day after it will be easier. It's a training to stop ourselves, because we are not used to it. See, when those thoughts are in our head, we think this is just how it is, right? And then we found in the outer world, we find circumstances that confirm that this belief is true. This is how we are wired. You have to understand how your brain is wired. And if this is how you grew up, maybe you got a lot of shame, right? Maybe you got a lot of things going on there in the first 7 years, and that's how you're programmed, right? Maybe the way how the relationship has been between your parents have been very, very difficult. You have downloaded a lot from there. And it's not because they were evil. It's not because your subconscious is evil. That's just how the program runs. That's just how things go. And you have to understand that it's not your fault. But now you can actually change it. When you're a child, you couldn't really change that. That's just what happens, right? Those programs, that's what happens. So you're downloading it. But you're not really when you're an adult. It's kind of like when you start to recognize, or when you start to walk, right? That kind of program, that runs until you're old, very old, until you die eventually. And so it's the same kind of thing. You don't have to change that. If your walking is already there, why would you change that? It already works, you see? So you don't have to change everything, but you have to change the way how you think so that you have a happier life, a more peaceful life, right? A more loving life. So here is what you do, really. What you do is, whenever this is happening, you take a break. If this is 1-2 minutes, that's fine. If this is 5 or 10 minutes, great. If this is 20 minutes, this is fantastic. If you don't have it, take a little time. Take the 1 minute. Everyone has 1 minute or 2 minutes. Okay? Start to reconnect with yourself. Start to release that tension from your body. Start to see that you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts cannot be true. Because you are not out of hate. You are, from the essence, you are out of love. And when you start to reconnect yourself, you can feel that yourself. So this is not just me telling you that. This is me telling you that you can feel that, so you can experience it, and then you have your own proof that this is true. I don't say take my words for granted at all. You go by yourself and you start to feel it. You start to sit down. So 3 a.m. right in your bed, and those thoughts wake you up, and you start to create like this anxieties or something, where you're getting anxious and you're like, oh my God, like I don't know how to handle it. So you start sitting up, you start to sit straight, and you start to calm your body. And you're doing this really like this. You start to close your eyes and you start to breathe really deeply. So you inhale and you exhale. And you do this about 5 to 10 times just to calm down the first high tensions. This simple exercise is actually really something that is already calming your body, because it's telling your body to slow down. Okay, this is why you're doing belly breathing. So this belly breathing is about to really calm and slow down your system before you do anything else, before you start to create anything. You're not touching anything before you're not doing those kind of exercises to calm your system, because you're not doing a great job for any goals you have, for anything. Okay? What happens next? You start to connect yourself from above, from the sun. You can imagine that a kind of like that light from the sun just comes all the way down. And it goes into your crown chakra. This is the 7th chakra right above your head. And you start to open that up. Make it visual, that you're kind of thinking that it's a flower that is like opening up and very wide. And you can feel that that divine light is just coming in. And it's pure love. It's just something that you have experienced pretty much all your life, but you couldn't really handle it, because you were never separate from this. It has always been there. You just have closed it off a bit. You start to let this light in, and you can feel how it fills up everything, your head. It goes down to your neck, your shoulders, then to your arms and fingers, then to your heart. You can start to feel this love coming in every single cell. Everything, in all organs, to all bones, to all muscles, to all nerves, to the whole system. Goes down to your belly, then to your pelvis, to your knees, to your feet. Take a deep breath in And release. You can feel that light is shooting out of your feet, going all the way down to the earth. And you can feel that the strengthening to the earth, this anchor, is bringing you back into balance. It's kind of like a tree where you have access to the top and you have access to the below. You can start to feel both energies inside of you. And you start to see how your system is, from just doing this very, very simple exercise, is releasing the heaviness and the tension. Even if it is just a bit for right now, that's more than enough. All we are trying to do is to release. So don't fight against it, just let it be. Let it in. Let this light that you have right now, let it come down. All the way down to your system, to your body. Open up that stream of light. That light is full of love, of joy. Can you feel it? When you start to recognize who you are, you're not looking anymore at the fear, at the anger, because love was never absent. It is always here. What you have to do is to reconnect to Source, to God, to energy, however you want to call it, to universe, to nature. And when you're done with this feeling and really allowing yourself to feel how the heaviness is just washed away, knowing that you are not your emotions, that's not who you are. And then you can open up your eyes again. And what you are doing next is you start to write. You open up a journal and then you start to write in that journal what you could feel. Write down everything that comes into your mind. What could you sense in this little meditation, in this little reconnecting, right? What could you feel? What could you sense? And every single time you are feeling the lack of love because your anger is so big, you start to open that book up and you start to read. And you read it actually in front of you in the mirror. And you start to recognize that if you can feel it, you are also capable in sharing this with either way others or in another way. If you can feel this love, right? And it goes in this direction of love, and the other one was just anger and anxiety and not knowing like what's going on. This is where you're choosing. You choose. You see, you choose. It's like you see that you are both. You see that you're all. And because of that, because there is no separation, because you're not just you're not just one, but you're both. You embrace both. So you're embracing that emotion that has been so heavy on you. And because you're doing that, that emotion is not getting bigger but smaller, because you acknowledge that that emotion is here. You start to see who you are, but you are also seeing yourself why you have that intense emotion. You see that that emotion is not who you are originally. So start to do this exercise. It's very, very crucial. And it's very important and super easy, right? You can always come back and do this with me. You can change it. Please do change it. Adjust. Just understand the idea behind it. That's important. There are many people who start doing this with a lot of, I don't know, rituals and candle to bring themselves into some kind of, some kind of ambiente. Can I say that? Some kind of ambiente. While I think that the less you're using, the better, because if you are at work, for example, it's quite hard to start the ambiente. It's quite hard to go quickly to the toilet and get your calmer waters in, right? Maybe you can start like this. Maybe you can start like this. If you need it, if you want to work with some kind of crystals whatsoever, go for it. Personally, I believe less is more, simply because you cannot always have them with you. You cannot always have something else with you. You need to understand that you are the tool for this. And so when you start to see that you have all the tools inside of you, you don't need anything else. That's pretty good, because you can do it in the train. Don't do it while driving. You can, you can really do this anywhere. Find a room, find somewhere where you are 1 minute alone. Start to reconnect. Start doing it on a daily basis. If you have, or if you can, do it 5 times a day. Who cares? Do it as much as you can to feel love, because that love is going to expand. And when love is expanding, you're growing. You're not really growing when you have hate and all of that, because you're reproducing that, right? You are producing what you are at this very moment. And so if you are pushing out some anger and you're pushing this out against you, you will also do this against others, if you see that or not. You will not be in love because you can't feel it. And that's why you create the same thing again and again and again, and you don't even want that. Start to recognize when you're doing it. Okay? With this said, thank you so much for being here. And if you are new here, then leave me a comment, say hi. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel and to like and share and do whatever you feel like when it comes down to sharing some wisdom and putting this really into your daily habits, right? Putting this into a place where you are doing this for yourself and you start to heal, not for anyone else, not for a relationship, not for your kids, but because you want to feel better, because this has a ripple effect to everyone else too. So you're doing it because first off for you, and then other people start to see that you have changed. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. Bye bye.